we'll get going then. Yeah, so this is looking at the Malay clan and the origins, according to tradition, and also factual history, where it comes from the Connachta and the O'Neill. So anyway, just moving on anyway. Now, just before we get going, just want to bring up the awesome O'Malay news that's been
Yes, that's us.
don't know. Sorry, I'm just admitting people into the waiting room. Right, things will settle now shortly. Right. So just there, we have the Autumn O'Malley's newsletter done recently. That's been circulated. Hope you've received all that. If you haven't, let me know. And also, thanks everybody for joining the recent September Zoom as well. On that, like, so moving on from that as well. Now, moving on from that. Right. Okay. Yeah, just want to say as well, happy belated Halloween. Just want to say something quickly about Halloween. So Halloween is actually quite big in Ireland, and there are different, perhaps disputed origins of where Halloween comes from. But Ireland very much has a claim to Halloween, and in Ireland we do reckon that Halloween does come from Ireland. So Halloween in the Irish language is known as Iha Hauna, and that's just there in the top left there. Just I'm showing my cursor, Iha Hauna, and is the festival of Samhain. So traditionally in Ireland, Halloween is held on the 31st of October, and it's a very large festival. It goes back to Gaelic times. And on the Irish calendar, October is actually the last month of autumn. So the 3 months in autumn in Ireland are August, September, and October. Whereas I think on the modern calendar, the 3 months for autumn are September, October, November. So it's 1 month forward on the modern season calendar. But in Ireland, on the Celtic or Gaelic calendar, it's a month behind. But if you go around Ireland during Halloween, it's very common to see bonfires and fireworks all around the country. I know in England on the 5th of November, for a different reason, there's a bonfire night, 5th of November. But in Ireland, our bonfire night is very much Halloween night. It's a big, big deal in Ireland. And bonfires in Ireland, they've been replaced actually by fireworks. It's kind of the more modern, I suppose, environmentally friendly way, perhaps, of doing things. But yeah, bonfires and fireworks are big in Halloween. And I just want to wish everybody happy Halloween. And just going here again about the seasons in Ireland. As I mentioned, the seasons in Ireland are traditionally were different from kind of the modern seasons. So the months in on the Irish traditional calendar for autumn, the 3 months are August, September, and October. Winter is November, December, January. Spring is February, March, April. Summer is May, June, July. That's the months on the Irish seasons. But I know in the modern Western calendar, things are a bit different. Summer, of course, is June, July, August. Winter is December, January, February. Autumn is September, October, November. Spring is March, April, May. But just bear in mind, in Ireland, Halloween did mark the end of autumn, going into the beginning of winter. In the Irish language, autumn is known as the on four, which means the harvest, because basically in autumn time, autumn was the time of collecting the harvest, following on from the summer. And so yeah, just some notes. So just I brought that up in the newsletter, but I just thought I'd bring it up in this call quickly as well. But between those four seasons as well, there's four kind of important festivals. So you also have the 1st of February, and that's St. Bridget's Day. St. Bridget is the female patron saint of Ireland, and it lies on the boundary between winter and spring. So the first day of spring in Ireland, you've got St. Bridget's Day, and that's actually now a national holiday, at least in the Republic of Ireland, alongside St. Patrick's Day. That's quite a recent thing. The next one is May Day, 1st of May. And in Gaelic times, it was known as Baltanya. So May Day was the 1st of May, and that was the end of spring and the start of summer. And that lingers around, like even in England and the USA, like, you know, May Day is a thing. May Day has become the Labour Day, the National Labour Day. And it goes back to an ancient time whereby huge amounts of labour was gathered up coming into the summer to do all the work that was required in the summer. And that came into modern kind of Labour Day in the modern world we live in. The next one then was Reek Day, what became Reek Sunday, and that originally was the last day of July, and that was the boundary between summer and autumn. So that would mark the end of the summer. Now it's the last Sunday in July, and that's commemorated in Ireland by the climbing of a mountain called Croagh Patrick. So Croagh Patrick is climbed in Ireland, and it's a mountain in the west of Ireland. It's now climbed in honor of Saint Patrick, our patron saint, but it has a much older origin. It was originally climbed in the honor of a Gaelic god called Lugh. And Lugh was the god of harvesting and trickery and merchandise. And of course, that kind of fits into the tradition of the summer coming into the autumn time, whereby in autumn you were collecting the harvest and harvesting and the festival created from the summer. So that's the four. Their four dates were very important in ancient Ireland. So actually moving on then. So now moving on here with this. This wants to freeze here now. Okay, sorry. Right. And the next thing I just said as well, bonfires in Ireland. Now, there is a place in County Meath, and in English it's called the Hill of Ward. In Irish it's called Knocktalga. And it actually is meant to be the origin of Halloween. So on the 31st of October in ancient Ireland, the first Halloween bonfire was lit on the Hill of Ward, known also as Knocktalga in County Meath. And from that, bonfires then were lit all around Ireland from that. So there's a big tradition on that as well. And that Hill of Ward is named after an ancient Irish druidess, a red-haired druidess. She's called Tagda. And I've just said again about Halloween lying on the bounds between autumn and winter. Another thing as well then is pumpkins. So in ancient Ireland, there's a tradition in Ireland of lighting candles in windows. Even today, like you have Irish people that light candles in windows, and it's to keep away evil and danger, basically. But on Halloween night, like candles were left in windows to try and keep away the spirits, just because Halloween was seen as a kind of an opening between where spirits could get into the world, or move from Halloween into winter. But sometimes those candles were actually put into a carved turnip, and those turnips were left onto the windows of Irish houses. And as the Irish brought and Gaelic traditions brought Halloween to North America, that tradition of carving pumpkins in carving turnips in Ireland, when it came to North America, became a pumpkin. So just thought that might interest some of our North American colleagues. Now moving on now. Going to go straight into now about the Connachta and Neill dynasty origins of the Malay clan. So I'm just showing here some symbols. In the right of the screen, we have an oak tree. And the oak tree, that's the emblem of the Connachta dynasty. That appears actually on the modern O'Connor family coat of arms. The O'Connor family particularly sees themselves as the main inheritor of the Connachta dynasty. To the right of that, we have the O'Neill dynasty, and the O'Neill dynasty did descend from the Connachta dynasty, and then the Malay dynasty descend from that. Dare I say, there's somebody drawing on the screen. Maybe somebody's, I don't know, there's somebody drawing on the screen.
That, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know if I get rid of that, but okay, I'll just reshare it again. Let's say, yeah, but there you go. Well, sure. Every little helps, as I say. It's all good. Now, get this here to share it again. Right.
Who's that clever to be?
And we'll make this here bigger. Now,
there's a whole crowd of them in.
Right. So sharing this here now. So Grant. So that's the O'Neill dynasty. Of course, the red hand is the emblem of the O'Neill dynasty. It's now the emblem of Ulster, but it was actually an All Ireland symbol, and in older plaques for the red hand was known as the Law of Jarlath Erin, which means the red hand of Ireland. Even the old Ulster Bank motto, going way back, the motto of it was Log Jarlath Erin, the red hand of Ireland. And then below that, then we have the Malay coat of arms. But as you can see in the top of the Malay coat of arms, there is the oak tree, and that shows that Malay has lineage from the Connachta dynasty. Right, so moving on from that then. So now, on the last Zoom, I did mention about these 7 waves of people that did come to Ireland in ancient times. And they were called the Fomorians, the Kesser, the Partalon, the Nemid, the Fairbog, the Two of the Danann, and the Milesians.
Something that's easy to say.
Yeah, just so everybody, we can hear you when you're talking. I'm going to have to mute people, sorry.
Yeah, the pet name, madam, it would be very easy to say, Sean, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'm going to have to mute you in Mona, sorry. Grant, so...
Okay.
So, right, so I'm just going to share here again. Sorry, everybody. Share that there. So, right, so So these were the 7 waves of people, according to Irish tradition, are meant to have come to Ireland in ancient times. And they're particularly mentioned in a book called the Leabhar Gabhála Éireann, and that means the book of the taking of Ireland. But there is some truth in it, like, you can match modern history to these 7 waves of people. But this time, and this is a page from the Leabhar Gabhála Éireann, which does mention these 7 waves. But here I'm going to focus on the people called the Mleesans, and how the Mleesans became the Connachta, and then became the Neill, and then eventually became the O'Malley's. Right, so moving on from that then. The pages don't seem to want to move here quickly. All right then. Right, going to mention the Irish Annals. So there are these books called the Irish Annals. They're quite in-depth books. They were written by the Irish monk monastery tradition. And there's several versions of them. And they were very much based on the old Druidic tradition of Ireland. So the Druids were people in pre-Christian Ireland that had a lot of knowledge on Ireland from very ancient times. And that knowledge was constantly passed on over the ages and never written down. Like, it took some of these Druids all their lifetime to learn all this knowledge, and it kept being passed down. But once we come into the Christian era, the monks and the monastic tradition of Ireland got hold of this much older Druid tradition, and they created these annals. And these annals has a lot of information in it. And these annals, Ireland is quite unique to have all this information. And perhaps we were saved from the rest of Europe, maybe from different conquests and different things. I know the Vikings did some damage, but these books have survived in Ireland, 3 famous ones from the annals are what's called the Leabhar Gabhála Éireann. That's the one I just mentioned there. That means the book of the taking of Ireland. And there's another one called the Forest Fausta Éireann, and there's Annals of the Four Masters. They're the most 3 famous annals, and yes, I'm just trying to mention them now. So moving on then. And then here's other annals here as well. There's a whole array of ancient books which talk about Irish history, and Ireland is very lucky to have them. And they're all created in the monasteries of ancient Ireland. Some other famous ones are the Annals of Clonmacnoise, quite close to Malloy territory in Offaly, the Annals of Ulster. But yeah, so we're quite lucky to have these books in Ireland. Right, so moving on then. So then going to look at the High King tradition. Now there is kind of possibly a lot of legend in this here, but there were said to be High Kings in Ireland, and so you had the first 3 were the Firbolg High Kings, the 2 of the Danann High Kings, and the Mleesan High Kings, and so they are mentioned in these annals anyway. The Firbolg High Kings, they're meant to have ruled from the hill of Ishnok in County Westmeath in the centre of Ireland, just the north of Offaly, which is Malloy kind of territory in Offaly. And then we had later the 2 of the Danann Kings, the Mleesan Kings, and they're said to have ruled from the hill of Tara, which is in County Meath, just in the east of Ireland. So yeah. So just moving on, but there's a whole list of kings mentioned in these annals. So these are the Firbolg kings, which are supposedly have ruled over Ireland from Ishnok, the hill of Ishnok, the centre of Ireland. And that's them, and that's the dates, And they're said to have ruled over Ireland in the early Bronze Age. Right, so move on from that then. So then later on in the mid-Bronze Age, we had the 2 of the Danann High Kings of Ireland, and these are the 2 of the Danann High Kings of Ireland listed. Now on this here, it says the AFM, that's the Annals of the Four Masters. That's one of the annals I mentioned. So yeah, these are the dates that are meant to have ruled, and this is another version of an annals whereby the 2 of the Danann are meant to have ruled over Ireland as High Kings. Then we have the Mleesans, the whole array of Mleesan High Kings are meant to have ruled over Ireland, and they are all mentioned in the annals as well. And they're meant to have ruled over Ireland in the late Bronze Age and the early Iron Age, the whole list of them. Now, so the Mleesans, they're meant to be the beginning of the true kind of Gaelic tradition in Ireland. And from that, we get the Connacht dynasty, which I'll mention shortly. But this is the Mleesan High Kings. I'm just showing them just for reference, really. I'm not going to go into too much. So the whole array of Mleesan High Kings. Now, then we come into the proper Gaelic area. So these are, just to check, everybody can hear me, I assume, yeah?
Yeah,
Maybe I'm talking a bit too fast. I'm just conscious of time. I'm sure you've got things you're doing. It's so hard to listen to me, So these are the... Thank you. So these are the early High Kings, Gaelic High Kings of Ireland, and they're said to have ruled from the hill of Tara. And the first of them was a fellow called Tuatha Takmar. So Tuatha Takmar, he is meant to have ruled as the first Gaelic High King of Ireland in the early AD period. And in the Annals of the Four Masters, he's meant to have ruled as High King of Ireland from 80 to 100 AD. And he's meant to be the origin of a dynasty called the Connachta dynasty. And that's going to become relevant because the Malloys do descend from the Connachta dynasty. And the rest are other High Kings here as well. I'm going to mention some more later. We have a fellow called Con Céad Cotach. That means Con of the 100 Battles. I'm going to mention him soon. Another one down here is quite famous is Neill of the Nine Hostages, Néill. He was another hiking of Ireland, and the Malays are descendant from these three guys. There's others as well. I'm not going to go into them, anyways. Yeah. Right, moving on. So this is Tuath Taghmar. He's meant to be the first Gaelic High King of Ireland, and this is a stone carving which was found in Ireland. They reckon that to mean Tuath Taghmar, like, you know. But again, he's meant to be the first Gaelic High King of Ireland, and said to have reigned in the early 2nd century AD. And he is said to be the ancestor of the Connachta and the Neill dynasties, from which the O'Malley clan is descended from. I'm going to go through that shortly. Now, just to know, Tuath Taghmar, he may have a connection with a Gaulish god called Tuathas. Gaul was the ancient Celtic name for France. So Gaul was now France, but there is a Gaulish or Celtic French god called Tuathas. And there is a potential connection between the two, between this High King of Ireland in very ancient times, said to be, and this Gaulish god. Right, so moving on then. So now, the next thing then is we had Con of the 100 Battles, Con Céad Cotach, and he was a grandson of Tuath Taghmar. And we're following a line of people from which the Malloy family tree descends from. Now, just to note, this does focus more on the County Offaly Malloys, but Malloys in other parts of Ireland would likely come from this same division, this same branch as well. A lot of the Irish ancient royalty of Ireland does stem through this line, so that's kind of where I'm going, like, you know. So Con Céad Cotach, Con of the Hunger Battles, he's again was the grandson of Tuath Taghmar. And according to tradition, he was the fifth of the early Gaelic High Kings of Ireland, and he is said to have reigned in the mid 2nd century AD. He also gave his name to the later Connacht dynasty. Connacht dynasty comes from this Con Céad Cotach, and then he also gave his name then to the province of Connacht. It comes from this ancient, said to be High King of Ireland. And a famous guy in Irish mythology, Finn McCool, he's said to have lived during his time as well. Now, this is just some references from the last Zoom back September. Once upon a time, briefly, during Con's reign, Ireland was briefly partitioned into two provinces. The entire north of the island, north of a line which ran from Galway to Dublin, that was known as Lac Con, which means Con's half. And the entire island south of that line from Galway to Dublin was Mug's half. But anyway, so this northern part of the country was named after Con, and which also was later became the province of Connacht and the Connacht dynasty. And these are some depictions, some artist depictions of Con of the 100 Battles. This here guy here, where McCusker is the left, that's meant to be Con Céad Cotach. And this is Finn McCool. This is actually in a pub up in Bushmills near the Giant's Causeway up in the north of Ireland. The Giant's Causeway, according to tradition, was meant to be built by Finn McCool, but that, of course, it was built by a volcano. But anyways, yeah. Right, so moving on from that then. So this is the family tree of the Connachta. We're getting to Malloy territory now slowly. So again, this oak tree, that is the emblem of the Connachta dynasty. And you'll see an oak tree on many Irish coats of arms, including the Malloy coat of arms. So on the Malloy coat of arms, the top bit is an oak tree, and that just represents that the Malloys are from the Connachta dynasty. And they come via the O'Neill branch, which is a branch of the Connachta, which we'll talk through shortly. But just starting at the top here, it all descends from this guy called Tuath Taghmar. And moving down, we have all these other guys here. We have Philimid Rockmar, Con Céad Cotach, Con of the 100 Battles. And just moving down here, the traces can be found. Till we get to here then, there's a branch that goes right. This became the Arata, that's the Oriel. Oriel is a kingdom which existed in the Monaghan, South Armagh. Actually, Monaghan, most of Armagh, one stage was South Armagh. Monaghan, most of Armagh, and South County Tyrone. It was an Oriel kingdom that they actually branched, split away from the O'Neills, but we'll part that. Don't want to focus on that too much. But now moving on to down these people here, we have the O'Neills. The O'Neills come from this Connachta tradition. Looking over here, this might be of interest. We have the O'Bruin. The O'Bruin, that's where the O'Connors come from. And the O'Connors, they see themselves as the main inheritors as the Connachta dynasty. Whereas the O'Neills, they see themselves as a kind of a split or branch off, a new dynasty which branched off from the Connachta dynasty. So just showing where O'Neills come from the Connachta, and then we move on from that then. So now, there's a guy here which might be of interest, might be famous, I suppose, maybe particularly Irish people. You perhaps would have heard of him in school. And his name was Neill of the Nine Hostages. In Irish, is Néill. And he is meant to be, according to tradition, a Gaelic High King of Ireland in the 4th and 5th centuries AD. And he was a member of the Connachta branch. And it's from Neill of the Nine Hostages that the O'Neill dynasty began. That's how the Neill dynasty began, and that's where the also modern O'Neill surname came from. But that's split later. But it's interesting that there's a study that was done by Trinity College Dublin in 2006, and it concluded that 3 million men worldwide potentially are directly descended from this Knight of the Nine Hostages. So he's a busy man, he was, like, you know. And they say as well, he's a man with a lot of power. And also, apparently, 1 in 12 Irishmen can also descend find ancestry directly from Neill of the Nine Hostages, and particularly the Malay sort of things. The Malays, most Malays should be able to have ancestry from Neill of the Nine Hostages. So yeah, just thought that might be of interest, like, you know. So he was in the Connachta dynasty, right? So just moving on from that, then. So now it's going to be down. Some reason this does tend to freeze. Right, here we are. Now, so the legacy of Neill the Nine Hostages. So again, it's mostly Irishmen in the northwest of Ireland, or lineages or heritage from the northwest of Ireland that have DNA from this Neill of the Nine Hostages. And the red hand was the emblem of the O'Neills. The O'Neills also became the red hand of the O'Neills, the family later. And the O'Neill motto, people think it's the red hand of Ulster. It's not the red hand of Ulster. It's the Love Jog Erin. It's the red hand of Ireland, because the red hand was originally not necessarily associated with Ulster. It was actually seen as an Irish symbol once upon a time. Also, during the time of Nine of the Nine Hostages, St. Patrick is meant to be captured and being brought to Ireland. So that's just interesting to put that down as well. And I'm just showing the modern map of Ulster. And the red hand is now associated with Ulster and the province of Ulster, even though it originally was kind of an All-Ireland Irish symbol. So moving on then. So then we have the Connachta and the O'Neill in the 600s AD. So the remaining claimants of the Connachta dynasty, they became the O'Brown branch, and that became the O'Connors. Whereas the O'Neill dynasty, they reigned directly over the provinces of Meath and of Western Ulster. So on the map here, just to the right of the screen, this territory here in the kind of mustardy brown, that was O'Neill territory. So they railed over what was the province of Meath and Northwest Ulster. Here in the pink, we have the Kingdom of Oriel. This is a kingdom which broke away from O'Neill as well. And this is the province of Connacht. So the O'Brown, which became the Connors, they saw themselves as the inheritors of the Connachta dynasty. But this was all these peoples who were originally all, at least the royalty of those areas, they were originally all Connachta. And just for references, these are maps of Ireland, of different versions of Ireland's provinces. Starting on the bottom left here, we have the Fairbog map of Ireland's provinces. Those who were on the call in September might remember that map. So the Fairbog are meant to have created those very first boundaries of Ireland's provinces. This is the Two of the Danann map of Ireland's provinces, where things moved a bit. And this is the modern map of Ireland's provinces and counties. So that's it there. So just moving on. By the way, I will share this after the call on the slide as well. Now, in the late 600s, the O'Neill dynasty, it formally splits. So we end up then with a Northern O'Neill up here in the Donegal and kind of West Derry, West Tyrone area, and a bit of Fermanagh. And we have the Southern O'Neill in the kind of province of Meath area. And it geographically split because of an expansion of the Connachta into an area which became the Kingdom of Breffni. Kingdom of Breffni was the Cavan and kind of Leitrim area. But anyways, so the two split. Now, there were splits before that, but they're formally geographically split whenever this Northern O'Neill and Southern O'Neill were formed. Now, in the Northern O'Neill, there were two dynasties were formed. There was the Connell dynasty and the Kennel-Owen dynasty. And they correspond to the modern counties of Donegal and Tyrone. So Kennel-Owen, an older name for Donegal is Tyrconnell. So that's where Tyrconnell gets the name, the line of Connell, because they're descended from the Connell dynasty. And then we have the Connell-Owen dynasty. That was Tyrone. They're descended from the Tyrone dynasty. But moving down here, we have the southern branch, and this is where the Malays now are kind of moving to. The Malays come from the southern branch of O'Neill. Within the southern O'Neill branch, we have the Connell-Nady dynasty, the Connell-Corpry dynasty, the Connell-Logra dynasty, the Clan Coleman, the Slade-Nanoda Slane dynasty, and the Kinnell-Féilte dynasty. And this last one, the Kilfeacha dynasty, that's the dynasty that the Malays descend from in this southern O'Neill. Now, so moving on from that then. So I'm going to talk a minute about this Kinnell-Féiche dynasty and the founder of it. Now, this is Féiche mac Neill. He was a son of High King Neill of the Nine Hostages, Nine Gaelic and Irish. And we're following again the Malay origin as we move from Connachta to Neill. But anyway, he created this new dynasty. So he's meant to have flourished in the era from 507 to 514 AD. And again, he was a son of Neill or Neill of the Nine Hostages. And he was the founder of the Céill Féachach dynasty from the southern O'Neill branch. And he was the king of Uisneach in the province of Meath. So you might remember back, Uisneach is a very ancient site in the very geographical centre of Ireland. And he was a king of Uisneach. And according to the list of kings within the Book of Leinster, that's one of those annals that I mentioned earlier, he succeeded a brother called Conall Crumathnán, who died in 480 as king of Uisneach. Now, furthermore, according to the Tripartite of the Life of St. Patrick is said to have visited Féacham mac Néill and his brother Edna at the hill of Uisneach. However, apparently St. Patrick placed a curse over Uisneach and his descendants due to Féacham mac Néill's son killing a follower of St. Patrick, as well as Féacham mac Néill, however, refusing to be baptized. Now, and the Irish annals also placed Féacham mac Néill as a conqueror of the province of Meath. Along with Fela, there's a mistake there, sorry, it should be the southern part of the province of Meath, not all of us, honest. So he was the conqueror of the southern part of the province of Meath, along with his Fala Breda, the ancestor of the Leinster dynasty of Uffali as his opponent. And then Féacha fought with the Fali Barada of the Uffali and won the Battle of Droom Dara in the year 507 AD. And the winning of that caused Féacham mac Néill to have a huge amount of territory which stretched from the Lake District of County Meath, where the Hill of Uisneach is, right down to the boundaries of Munster, near where Bor is, modern County Offaly. And excuse me, the descendants of the Killach dynasty include several well-known subclans, such as the Malays. The Malays started appearing on the scene. Also, the McGagans, and their land stretched originally from Bor to the Hill of Uisneach in modern South County Westmeath and modern North County Offaly, as just mentioned. And the southern territory of that became the Malay Kingdom of Ferkel. Ferkel does mean the men of churches, and later the barony of Moy Cashel. Now here's just some pictures which just kind of put some colour on things. This is an artist's depiction of what the Hill of Uisneach might have looked like in the 6th century. Quite a busy area with forts and different things. And here we have a geography of what became the Kingdom of Ferkel, which the Malays are said to descend from. Right, so we'll just move on from that then. So now, descendants then of Féacham mac Néill. So there's two main, including others, there's two main descendants of Féacham mac Néill. There's the McGagans of Kinlech and there's the Malays of Ferkel. Now here's a map here which just shows some of the geography. And the geography did go from Birr in County Offaly, right down in the Munster boundary, right up to the Hill of Uisneach, which is this territory here. There's the Hill of Uisneach there, But the McGagans, they saw themselves as the main inheritors of the Céill Féachach dynasty. And note the Céileach, which is the title which was held in their title, that's an Anglicization of Céill Féachach, and they ruled the northern end of what was the Céill Féachach territory. Note also the annals of Clonmacnoise, that's one of the annals I've just mentioned earlier. They state that the original Céill Féachach territory extended again from Birr in modern County Offaly to County Westmeath. I've mentioned that already basically, but that's actually mentioned in the annals of Clonmacnoise. But Kinlaw is now the name of townland which runs between Kilbeggan in and the Hill of Uisneach in County Westmeath. That's where the Kinloch is now in modern times. Wherever the O'Malays are said to have reigned over a southern area of what once was the larger Céill Féachach territory over the Kingdom of Ferkel. And today, the once O'Malay Kingdom of Ferkel, it covers approximately the modern boundaries of Ballycowan, Ballyboy, and Aiglash in County Offaly. These are just some coat of arms. You'll recognise the Malay coat of arms, but this is McGeig, and this is a fellow related clan to the Malays, coming from that original Céill Féachach dynasty. Right, so moving on then. So, right, we'll finish soon, everybody. You'll be glad to hear. Right, this seems to be frozen. Here we are. Right, now we're getting to Malays then. So, right. See, O'Wale Wiwi, which is Irish or Malay in English. So some 10 generations later from that, there emerged in the Kingdom of Ferkel a guy called Will Wiwi. And Will Wiwi, he's Mr. Malay, and that's where the Offaly Malays at least come from. But he is said to have been slain in battle in the year 1019 AD during the wars of the High King Brian Brew era. So Brian Boru was a High King of Ireland during the early 1000s, and there was a lot of wars going on anyway with the Vikings, different things. But he is meant to have slain during one of those battles. And just for as a pointer, Will does mean proud chieftain. So for the Offaly Malloys, at least anyway, Malloy, which is Will, it does mean proud chieftain in Irish. But it's from this Will guy that the family name of Will derives, and he was later anglicised to O'Malloy. Then Will had two sons, Connachta and Lorcan, and the latter was the father of a Kilbreed, who became the Lord of Ferkle in 1048, and the death of Ferkle, brother or cousin. It's the different sources say different things. And then Kilbreda, he died in 1069, however, he's not mentioned in the genealogies. However, in 1110 AD, his grandson, Kilacombe Malloy, was killed at a place called Inish Lochamick Drudy by Connachta of Ferkle. And anyway, Kilacombe left three sons, Dolacha, Merkel, and Ferkle. So